All yours, Alex.
Thank you very much, Vinicius. So, hi everyone. Welcome to Travel Tech, the world's biggest educational show for the travel and hospitality industry. I'm so pleased to have you all here with this amazing panel we're going to host for the night. I wanted to first thank our annual sponsors, Review Pro, Shiji Group, Partitech, Kepsla, Book Online Now, HG Hotels, Tipal, THS LATAM, and also our media sponsors, Hospitality 360, EV Hotel, Trends Tour. So now I'm just going to allow people to introduce themselves really quickly. I think that it's going to be not only very dynamic and very fast paced, but I just wanted to welcome you all and allow, starting with Soumya, everyone to introduce themselves, their companies, and what you're doing. So, Soumya, the floor is
Hey
yours.
Alex, yeah, thank you so much. First of all, thanks to Travel Tech for giving the opportunity. And I am Soumya Basu, and I'm the regional head for North America region for RateTiger. So I'm working in this travel and software segment for quite a while right now with RateTiger for last 8 years. So I started my journey in RateTiger with customer support, and then I moved to service management, catering to all the enterprise clients, and then I moved into account management and sales. So I'm the regional head for account management and sales right now for North America. So just to let you know, prior to this, I was with an IT-enabled services organization where I was responsible for handling a line of business for Europe account support and customer support. As you all know that we Rate Tiger, we started our journey since 2001, and in 2002 we launched our first product, which was the Rate Shopper. So we are a 20-year young company. We just completed 20 years, and we are a pioneer, and we are specialized in online rate shopping, hotel channel management solutions, and now we are into a one-stop solution CRS. We have our own booking engine, we have GDS, we have website development. So we are a one-stop shop for for any of the hotels, whatever the need be for the hotel to run the daily operations. We cater to thousands of hotels worldwide across mid and big scale chains, from the chain hotels to the groups to the individual hotels. So yes, that's a nutshell about myself and the organization. And yes, Red Tiger is an extended family to me. And thanks again, Red Tiger. Thanks again, Travel Tech, for giving this opportunity today. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, Soumya. And I think I'm gonna alter the order a bit, but I'm gonna follow my screen. So, Pablo, you're next to my right.
Hello.
So,
I'm also the next in my screen too. So I was
okay,
expecting
good.
a cold calling. Well, my name is Pablo Delgado. I know most of you. I'm the CEO of a company called MIRAI. We're based in well, we originally based in Spain, in Madrid, but now we are in five different countries, working with more than 3,000 properties. And what we do basically is we started being a technology company, a booking engine company, and a web design company. But now we offer everything related mm, to help hotels sell more direct, and that is online marketers. We do everything related to ads, to targeting, email marketing, meta search, everything, you name it. And we are very good with with in distribution. So we help hotels drive the direct channel and help and sell more direct and save all the high commissions that OTA impose, right? So this is what we do. We help hotels make more money.
Thank you very much, Pablo. And then, so we can continue with Claudio if that is okay.
Yes, sure. So my name is Claudio. I am CEO of a company called YieldPlanet. YieldPlanet is a distribution, as in channel management and revenue management company. We provide those both services. We have clients pretty much all over the world, in over 80 countries. However, we do have a focus mainly on Europe, but also North and South America is quite high up there on the list of clients that we're serving. Um, from a product point of view, like our channel management solution is what I would say one of the more flexible ones. So we can adapt to various different needs, from short-term rentals to hotels to hostels to bed and breakfast. We cater to the whole spectrum of the hospitality. And when we're talking about revenue management, price optimizer, that's what we call it. This is our fully automated solution for pricing. It's kind of imagine an autopilot for pricing. We don't do recommendations. We just change prices so that they're really the right priced products in the market.
Good. Thank you very much, Claudio, for that introduction. Over to you, Juanjo.
I'm Juan. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Hotels Network. And our role is to help clients, to help hotel brands be more profitable on the direct channel. So we sit on top of the existing technologies that they use, so we can work with any of the other guys in this room. And what we are doing is basically two things, benchmarking and personalization. We offer a benchmarking platform for specifically your direct channel to understand every metric in your online sales, how your conversion rates, revenue, demand, user profile, rates and disparities, etc. And then you use that benchmarking idea to find opportunities to improve, insights on what to do next. And then you can work on those through our personalization platform, which is a way to change the booking experience. What happens since the moment the user comes to the website all the way until they finalize a booking. We can change the content, the prices, promotions, look and feel, etc. for that process with the aim of increasing conversion and direct sales. And I'm a Spaniard. I'm based out of Barcelona. We have a team now in over 25 cities around the world. And we are working with over 12,000 hotel properties in 100 plus countries.
Congrats. That's impressive. Will, over to you.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for having me, and thank you to the Hotel Tech and Travel. My name is Will Darrah, and I'm with AMADEUS Hospitality. I've been at AMADEUS for 2 years. I was acquired as part of the TravelClick acquisition, and I was with TravelClick for 10 years before that. A little bit about AMADEUS Hospitality is we've got about 15 different solutions, all in an end-to-end tech stack that we offer to hotels, from business intelligence to CRM to CRS, website design, media solutions, voice. Most recently in the news, you've probably saw some of the recent articles about Marriott doing a big deal with us in the CRS space. And so it reemphasizes the major brands are looking for sort of new and interesting and evolving solutions in that area. We have offices. We're based in Madrid, but we do have offices, over 100 offices across the globe. I myself am in Arizona, but we have offices in New York and Chicago and Orlando. So happy to be here. Thanks.
Thanks. We are happy that you're here as well. And last but not least, Vinicius Geraldo from HS LATAM and Travel Tech, the father of the beast. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Alex. So I have more than 20 years working on hotel and hospitality distribution, direct and indirect, HS LATAM, normal. The first beginning has begun in Sao Paulo. Right now we have offices on Miami, Cancun, Bogota, Colombia, Lima, Peru, Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Sao Paulo. What we do, basically, we work on digital marketing for hotels, distribution, direct sales, and upselling. Also, we not only work concerning the distribution of a hotel, but for example, if a hotel has a park or has any kind of upselling needed, we can solve that situation. Basically, is that. I'm very happy to be here. So thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you for having me here as well. And so I think we're ready to get the audience started on our first round of questions. I think that one of the things that you share as kind of a common topic is efficiency of distribution, right? So distribution strategies, how to be efficient, how to make more revenue. So I think I'm going to start with Soumya, and this one is, Soumya, in your view and RateTiger's view, how can a hotel implement or really define an effective distribution strategy for channel marketing and visibility?
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Alex. So let's start with what do you understand by the hotel distribution strategy? To me, it's a plan of action for the hoteliers to sell the rooms profitably through across all the variety of channels. I mean, they can be different channels, so it's a variety of channels. So how you go ahead and how you strategize your plan to go ahead and sell your rooms across all the channels, that's a distribution strategy. So we need to have a multi-channel presence in order to maximize the sales opportunities. and also the brand presence. And at the same time, the hotels need to reduce the cost of the risk. So a few factors that I can see that the hoteliers can accommodate out here. It's number one, I would say direct website bookings. Like if you like most of the hotels, your website is the primary source for all the direct bookings. Uh, there will be direct phone bookings as well. There will be OTAs like Bookings Expedia. We have GDS, Global Distribution Systems. We have Metasearch sites, and we have the wholesalers as well. Whatever I spoke just now, these all broad categories, we can go ahead and I think the hoteliers can we can narrow down to three major categories. So one would be the online channels, one would be the strategic partnership, and one would be the offline channels. So what do we understand about the online channels? So online channels, of course, the first comes is the own website of the hotel. So as a tour operator or as a travel agent, the overriding benefit of optimizing the own website is we all know that you don't pay any commission to the OTAs, and you have the direct bookings, and the hotels have the full control over how the consumers can interact with your own brand website. So that's the best part of it. Uh, Again, we talk about the online channels, we talk about the Google business listing, because being a hotel listed in the Google My Business is essential, very much essential today, because Google is the default destination. So whenever if I am a guest and I'm looking for a travel destination or a hotel, so the first thing I'll do is I'll go to Google and search that if I'm going to Florida or Miami, I'll go ahead and search what are the best hotels in Miami or Florida near the sea beach or whatever be my preference. Okay. So as and when I search, the listing will come up in the Google search, and the Google Maps and the registering is absolutely free in Google Business Listings. You all know that. Next comes with the OTAs in the marketplace. So OTAs, we all know, Bookings, Expedia, they are the major OTAs in the market. And we have these online travel marketplaces as well. Few names like Bookmundi and Viator, they have the larger audience as per the research I've done. We all know that most are free to join. There are most of the travel place marketplaces which are free to join. But yes, there are some sales commission attached. So we have to monitor the performance carefully. Next in the online channels, and I'll say it comes the review network, because we know about the review network like TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, TrustYou. So the review network is very essential. That's a good business strategy, distribution strategy. I mean, you select one or two and keep your profile and the listings current over there. So the same thing we apply in the review sites like TripAdvisor and Trustpilot. So only concentrating out the energy of the hotel in one or two review site, I think is a sensible strategy for the hoteliers. And last but not the least, even we talk about the distribution strategy, so channel managers come into play. So we all know that the no more there is time that the hotel will go ahead and will go to individual extranet to update the rates and inventory over there. So all the hoteliers are using a channel manager right now. So what they can do is not only they can update rates and inventory, but they have a wide variety of OTAs instead of going to individual separate OTAs. So they don't have to go ahead and they don't have to go to 5, 6 extranet and get tired at the end of the day to update into the extranet daily in daily out. So through a channel manager, you can go ahead and you can manage a variety of OTAs. And we have seen many hotel companies, big and small, budget hotels and chain hotels, they use channel management technology right nowadays. And it not only allows the hoteliers to sell to the end users and intermediaries to single platform, but it also connects to the hotel's property management system. And such solutions of channel managers can actually automate sales and reduce the amount of commission being paid by the hotels. So those would be about the online channels. That's the first category. Now, if I go to second category, I'll keep it as a strategic partnership, because on the strategic partnership front, if we work with the other travel agents or the tour operators, that's a great way of increasing sales. We know that. So being a hotelier, I would get connected to OTAs or the travel agents, and also I'll work directly with the destination marketing organization, DMO, popularly known as DMO. So that will allow the travelers to book with the hotel directly, and when we advertise on the DMO website. So another best part of the strategic partnership that comes into my mind is building a relationship with the travel bloggers. that's an excellent idea for most of the hoteliers do follow right now, because if you build a relationship with the travel bloggers as a partnership, that will help you to get your hotel's name over there, and it will have a close involvement with all the trade bodies and associations associated with in the hotel travel and technology industry. Last but not the least, I'll talk about the offline channels. So in the offline channels, we cannot just go ahead and we cannot the hotelier cannot just do the mistake to overlook the offline distribution channels. The World Wide Web, the brand website, everything will give a global reach for sure. But the cross-selling partnership with the local business, such as stores, restaurants, cafes, and the hotels, it can turn out to be extremely valuable distribution channels which the hotelier can use. They can visit the information centers. That will be really helpful and the useful for, because many tourists do not book tours and activities until they are in the destination. So it has been numerous times that first of all I would plan to go there and book a hotel, sitting in my room and doing a Google search. But believe me, trust me, it works out in the other way around. Like, I go over there, I land up in the airport, and then might be I land up in the city where I need to be in my destination. Then I'll go here and there, and then I will search for the correct hotel. So the offline channels will be a great help, because there are a lot of travel agents who do directly bookings on these offline hotels. Last but not the least, if I talk about the offline channels, there will be the attending the trade shows and industry event. It can be costly at some point of time. Uh, I mean, if I talk about geographical location, so if I'm based in India right now, and if I'm thinking to travel to US, that might be costly at some point of time. But again, that will be a good investment, because when we go to trade shows, it's not there's not a channel out there, because we go ahead and meet persons physically, and we go ahead and also meet different companies, different tour operators, travel agents, and that will help us. That will help as a hotelier. That will help me to go ahead and connect to a lot of people around in my industry, which can benefit my hotel to grab more revenue. And we actually often go ahead and actually build a sort of partnership over there. So events are mostly into relationship building that will help the hoteliers in the long run. So yes, that would be from my end. So covering the distribution strategy, categorizing them to online channels, partnerships, and strategic partnerships, and offline channels. Thank you so
And
much.
thank you, Soumya, for that. I think what's interesting is that you just did a master class of like a holistic approach to distribution, right? And then before, like, hotels wouldn't have the possibility of looking at the whole ecosystem. Right now, with the advancement of technology, so hotels can do multiple things at the same time because the tech stack has enabled them to do that all at once, right? Before you would see a
Right.
hotel saying, "I'm going to do this because I only have bandwidth for this." Now they can tackle all the things you mentioned at the same time.
Correct.
So it's super interesting. Thank you for that.
Correct. And if you talk about COVID, yes, COVID has been a major impact in the travel tourism industry. But if you think of it another perspective, we see right now that we are 5 years ahead. We know what technology can do right now after we have tackled this COVID situation. So
Yeah,
that's
and I
my
think
thought.
you're
Yeah.
and to be honest, thank you for that because you're kind of opening the door to my next question. And I left my own introduction and my own company's introduction for the last at the end of this session, but I think it hits home right now. So I'm going to turn to Claudio and say ecosystem is important, right? Hotels are looking at one ecosystem now that has expanded quite like massively, mainly due to the effect of the pandemic. And I know, Claudio, you work with short-term rentals, and they are gaining momentum. 2021 was the record year for that sector in travel. How do you think this impacts hotels distribution? Do they need to do something different now that short-term rentals are kind of like the vedette of the industry? What should they do?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, I'm glad to have the expert on short-term rental in the panel as well. So that obviously makes that very interesting. And I think that was a very great like baseline for all the distribution channels. I do think Pablo would add meta search to these to your outline as well. But to the question in terms of meta on STR and hotels, I mean obviously there are differences between a short-term rental and sorry, I'll just try to frame this a bit. Whereas Soumya tried to do a very broad overview which is absolutely fantastic. I'm trying to focus on one topic maybe a bit more in detail, which is STR versus hotels in distribution. Just because I find this a very interesting topic, and it's close at heart. So yes, I mean, there are obviously differences. An apartment is an apartment and a hotel is a hotel. But I think from a distribution point of view, this is more we are looking at this more like on a spectrum, in a sense that on one end of the spectrum, there's maybe the host that is renting one of his room on Airbnb 2-3 nights a year. On the other end of the spectrum is maybe a 5-star property or a chain of an Accor hotel. And everything in between, we have distribution challenge. When we're looking at where the SDR is falling into this, when I'm talking about SDR here, I'm talking more about a property management company with at least 5 properties on the listing. Let me cut off this very long tail of the hosts that are managing 1 or 2 or 3 apartments, because things become really different. But when we're looking at what a PMC, a property management company with 5+ listings, has to do, and comparing it to the hotels, the distribution challenge that they have is actually reasonably similar. We don't see that much of a difference here, and we really would more look at this spectrum and place an STR that has 300 apartments in an urban space. Maybe their problem is really more similar to an urban hotel versus an STR with 20-30 apartments in a leisure destination. Why do we compare that with the STR in the urban space with 300 apartments? They might really more look like a bed and breakfast, or a hostel with 2-3 rooms, 10 beds. Aren't they actually more distributing like an STR is? So that's kind of like where we see this in terms of that. Actually, from a distribution point of view, it might not be that different. Obviously, there are different channels catering to different needs on this market. Airbnb, Vrbo, those are typical short-term rental channels where people that are looking for a short-term rental, an apartment or a holiday home would originate on. I'm taking back your reference here. Yes, obviously they also go on Google first, but let me just start off when they're on the specialized channel. Versus other channels like the typical big OTAs, Expedia, Booking.com, where this convergence has already happened. On Booking.com, you have a mix between hotels. You have everything. You have the Accor hotel, you have the big chains. You do have not all, but many of the SDRs and holiday homes there as well. So there's a lot of channels that are there. On the other end of the spectrum, and again, Soumya, you're brilliant with just putting this all out there. Some of the pieces that you put together with the more professional channels, the DMOs and the tour operators, the GDS in particular, they're more geared towards the hotel channels. Nevertheless, I think there are much more similarities that we can use, and that's kind of where I'd like to pull this also, turn the page a bit on trying to focus. What can these two things learn from these two parts of the market? Because we're looking, really, it is the same market. It's accommodation. What can the SDR maybe learn from the hotels? What can the hotels learn from the SDRs? When we're looking at the SDRs, I think there is potential to open up just the mindset and say like, hey, I might as well can look at my portfolio of apartments or vacation rentals like a hotel and try to market it where hotels are marketing it. Again, I'm referencing back to Soumya. All the things he said, you can do as a short-term rental company as well. There's a lot of opportunity of going into, not for all of them, but for some of them, going into these typical hotel distribution strategies, looking at hotel beds or at bed banks in more general, to see if this is a distribution channel that can work for you. Maybe even a GDS, if you have a big enough portfolio of urban service departments, a GDS plan might even be something that you can work on. The other thing where I think short-term rentals sometimes can catch up more is in terms of branding and their own direct distribution strategy. Particularly if we're looking at smaller ones, they very often rely on Airbnb to drive in all the traffic. Having a brand, having a direct distribution strategy can save on these commissions. We've heard that before, and I think that would be a great opportunity to brand and build a brand also for your short-term rentals. And there are great examples of short-term rental companies that built this. I don't think they're at the level of an IHG or an Accor yet, but maybe they're getting there. And another thing is more working on the product itself, like what can be harmonized, what can be distributed that looks more like fits more into the category of hotel rooms. Can you bunch them together so that even though those are individual apartments and all of them are a bit different, do they really have to be? Because for certain channels, for groups and for professional channels, very often it is more helpful to have like just a studio apartment rather than point out every single detail that is different. And last but not least, I think here again, technology helps to actually increase the complexity, offer more products, use different pricing strategies, different packages, so to speak. I know a short-term rental has less options for packages, but still there can be a weekend special that has a different rate plan on it, which is something that short-term rentals often don't use. So there's quite a lot of opportunity here to copy what hotels are already successfully doing. On the other hand, I think when we're looking at the hotels, it goes for me exactly the other direction. Often hotels have very standardized rooms, like make them more special. Does that suite fit an Airbnb type of distribution? Can you sell this like a short-term rental, or at least some of your rooms like a short-term rental? Does the dépendance that many hotels have, like the side building, does that fit into a short-term rental, longer-term stays, so that we can increase the audience? Also, Airbnb is open for many hotels by now. Like be there, doesn't hurt. Obviously, it's originated as a different kind of distribution channel, but it is nowadays just that, a distribution channel. And for me, the last thing is that what we see when we're looking at about SDRs, and also the channels that SDRs use, is that they are great at communication with the guests. Because this is essential. This is quintessential something that an SDR very often needs to do. Like you need to communicate with the guest. Where's the key? How to get there? How to check in? And all these things. But that means many of the SDRs are already in communication with the guests before they check in. Hotels, some do. Some are great at that. But generally speaking, it's not something that is in the DNA of the hotel to communicate with the guest before check-in, getting them on board, making sure they have everything they need, upsell them to the next room category or the adventure or whatever can be done. So in sum, I think it's like we don't see STR in hotels as something completely different. There's a spectrum, and some needs fit better than others, and that many distribution tactics from one or the other end of the spectrum can be used, adapted, and the best of the both worlds can be really used. And at the end of the day, we see this as a convergence of two spaces into one. Like not tomorrow, but over time, there will always be things that are clearly SDR, some that are clearly hotels, but there's a big middle ground where a lot of innovation will happen in the next couple of years.
Thank you for that, Claudio. And I don't know if anyone wants to add on top of that, but you hit the nail on the head. You know that this hits close to home for me. I think that more importantly, the lines have gotten so blurry after the pandemic that now there's a lot of things that can synergize over sectors. Mm-hmm. That's one. And then to your point, I was having a discussion yesterday where I was saying, hey, a PMC is technically a small hotel chain, period. Like, yep. It's just the nature of the product that changes. But having said that, maybe I now turn to Juanjo. And one of the things that we've seen with SDRs, and not the long tail, but I think it will pose a good challenge there for some of the bright minds we have here. But if we take it back to hotels, I think one of the things we've seen with pandemic is the return to direct bookings, at least in different channels or in a different fashion. People have started booking direct. So because they are now so important, Juanjo, how do you think hotels or even other properties, if we take Claudio's approach to this, like other people can kind of take this cue, is how they can capitalize that opportunity? What do they need to do to make more money with this?
So the answer is quite wide because there's a number of things you can do there. To keep some structure, the equation for direct bookings is quite straightforward. Number of people who come to the website, number of people that you convert. So you get 1,000 people, you convert 2%, then suddenly you have 20 sales. You can improve both of those. Then one way to think about it is, and I think quite a few hoteliers, especially on the longer tail, think it this way, is what I need is more users, more people to come here. But actually, you probably should work on your conversion rate first, because the conversion rate increases your sales in the same proportion as getting new users, and then makes every marketing effort cheaper. It's quite the calculation is simple. Let's say that I run a marketing campaign in AdWords, meta search, whatever, and my cost of acquisition is $10. If I improve conversion by 50%, I go from 2% to 3%, then suddenly the cost of acquisition of those people goes down to 6-7 euros or dollars. And then I have more money to spend in getting more users at a high conversion rate, and it keeps going. So it's obviously important to bring people to the website, but it's even more important to do good work with the people you're receiving already. One of the good trends in the last year and a half is that share of people coming to the website for the booking is larger than it used to be. Funny enough, the OTAs grow too. What is going away is everything else, wholesalers, distributors, tour operators. But both direct and OTA are going up really quickly, and as many of us know here, gaining market share versus everyone else. So you have a lot of traffic going on. You have the famous billboard effect that just because you show up in OTAs, a bunch of people come to check out the hotel. So if that's happening, if you have people coming to check it out, then what is the story you have to tell? And the way to think about the conversion, how you work on your own website, we typically think about two key ideas. First is reducing friction. So to make booking as simple as possible. And the second one is to make your hotel more attractive. So it's easier, more attractive. The easier part is around the idea that the transaction is seamless. So you know what you want, you can get it quickly. So the payment works properly. You understand the reviews of the hotel. That's one of the things we do, for example. We give you a meta search analysis of reviews so that you don't escape. The whole idea is someone came to check the hotel, you better give them every piece of information they are looking for without them having to go anywhere else, because then you may lose them forever. And then you need a value proposition in terms of the price and the content of the offer that beats every other channel. So you have to have price transparency, making obvious that your deal is better in price, and also that you are providing more value, which is almost always the case, that whatever goes around that is better than if you book through a third party. So make it simple, understand this is a hotel for you, you can get here at the best price. And then many hotels are really good, but you know what? Other hotels are good too. So how can I personalize the experience to understand that you are the ideal, my hotel is the ideal match for you? And there's a number of things you can do there. Changing the content you offer, the promotions you offer, the pictures you show, depending on what the user is doing and the behavior they're showing in this particular use case. For example, since in most hotels, apart from the top 10 brands in the world, almost everyone that comes to the website is the first time there. You don't have a history with them. So you cannot really say, I know Alex, therefore I'm going to show him his server room, because Alex is the first time he comes here. I have no idea about your name or email. No. However, every interaction you make with the website is telling me your intent. Are you looking to book for you or for your family tomorrow or for the summer? Are you looking at the cheaper rooms or the suites? And all of that can trigger some kind of different way for the website to approach what it's showing you. And that's almost unlimited in the sense of how can you do about that. Ideally, you can build 25 different strategies, but then every person will recognize only one. They only will see one line of content and messaging because that's the one that will have to convince you. So I think to summarize it, one is to cover the basics, and the basis around this idea of price transparency, review transparency, etc. And then do as much work as you can on this. Let's make it more attractive, because that's eventually the reason they came to you. If I found in Expedia a hotel, the problem with Expedia is that every hotel looks the same, because they have the exact same page with a format that's exactly the same, with pictures that eventually are all the same. They come to your hotel direct website in order to understand how my experience is going to be better in this hotel versus others. That's the story you have to tell.
Yeah, and thank you very much for that, Juanjo. I think pandemic only showed us how personalization is important, but real personalization and not cookie cutter personalization, right? So to your point, and I know, Pablo, you've been a kind of a big advocate for direct reservations and direct channel, and I would love to hear your thoughts on the same. Also, maybe I put you a little bit on the spot, but what is your thoughts about the recent news about Google sunsetting Book on Google? What does that tell the industry? I would love to pick your brain on that and say, okay, let's keep the share, but maybe now that Google is not doing this anymore, there's even more opportunity. Like this is a kind of a silver lining.
What you want me is to be polemic, right?
Yes.
What you brought me, right?
As always.
All right. Well, first of all, the pandemic, I think Juanjo made a very good summary, right? The pandemic changed pretty much everything. And all the online channels skyrocketed. All of them grew a lot. The first the direct, but also the OTAs, because they're the ones that sold mostly offline, such as bedbanks or tour operators, just went to zero for a long time. Now they are catching up. So the new channel mixes is starting to be like the pre-pandemic level. So we're still very far, but it's going that direction. So the challenge that hotels face today is how to keep that share of the direct pretty high. This is what we are trying to help our clients, and we are in the same boat as Juanjo, because what we do is we help hotels sell more direct, right? And I think it is correct that technology is a big chunk. I completely agree with that. You have to have a really good website, a really good booking engine, and appealing message. I mean, whatever, but it is more than that. So I think hotels have to reconsider their strategy they use in pre-pandemic levels. I mean, the same channel mix. I mean, going back to the same channel that typically hotels will make, or there are some of them that are making that mistake already. And I think technology, and I'm going to be a little polemic here, because I think the technology is so good today that it's so easy to open up 200 channels with just one click. But that's the starting point of a big mistake. Actually, most of the hotels only need 3 OTAs or even 4, and that's it. And they only need 1 bed bank, if just 1, right? And sometimes not 1, right? So I think hotels need to understand what the segments are. That's the first point. And the second point is, what is the minimum number of channels to reach all those segments? And you will end up with no more than 7 to 8 channels in most of the cases, right? So it doesn't mean that you don't need a channel at all. That's not true, because you need one to be efficient, to add some logic to that channel, but you don't need 200 channels. That's a typical mistake. And with 200 channels, everything is much more complicated, right? So this is the first thing. Second thing, you need to evolve that relationship with the client. I think that it was a fantastic opportunity for hotels to create a relationship with the clients, because OT knew more about the clients in minutes than the hotels in a week with the client at the hotel. And there is a paradox, right? So hotels need to understand their clients, build a relationship, and pay a lot for the first time that client books in the hotel, but paying very little for the next time and the next times, right? So thinking the lifetime features, right? It's a key for hotels. So that's a strategy, right? So you need a value proposition for booking direct. You need a better air conditions, you need better service, better room times. I mean, you name it. It's not the same for all the hotels. You have lots of options. Just choose the one that fits better for you and apply, right? So right technology, value proposition, a strategy, and then you need the visibility. And I agree with Juanjo again, that is just conversion rate. Everything that I said increases conversion rate. And then you just add clients at the conversion rate. Just is a money-making machine. Just start as much visits as possible, qualified visits. I mean, not every visit is valid, right? So be careful with the low funnel, with the high funnel, differentiate those. It's not the same video in the low funnel placements, such as Meta, Google Ads by brand, nothing to do with the high funnel, which is generic keywords, property promotion ads. The costs there are much higher, but that's new demand. So this is why hotels need to understand that bringing incrementality, right, is expensive. But if you have a money-making machine that converts new clients into repeat clients, then you're making a huge profit in the long run. So this is the way the hotels need to understand. There is technology, there is a good market strategy, and a good distribution strategy. This is why hotels, to me, this will be the difference between hotels that will succeed and hotels that will do the same mistakes that pre-pandemic. To your question, book on Google, and I'm not going to be very polemic. I was expecting this, and Google realized that I mean, it's very difficult the booking engine to convert. That users don't really understand why they should be booking on Google, because Google has never been a way to book or buy anything, but a way to connect two parts, right? And I think the conversion ratios that we were measuring with Book on Google compared to our booking engine were always worse in all nationalities, in all devices. Just in a couple of those, such as US in mobile, for hotels in Europe, for instance. So where the brand was close to zero, the US, the Americans were familiar with Google brand. In mobile, the friction, we can say, is less. So conversion rates were as high as ours, maybe slightly higher. But this, which is 98% cases, they were low. And I think this happened with the rest of the booking engines. So I think Google made a good decision deprecating Book on Google and helping the direct in a different way, which is driving qualified traffic to the direct booking engine and let them sell the way they want. Sell, cross-sell, and upsell, because Book on Google had this lack of feature, right? You couldn't upsell or you couldn't cross-sell within Book on Google, right? So hotels didn't like it that much. Okay.
Yeah, and I thank you for you taking that, Pablo. I completely agree with that statement. I had a chat with them, and they were talking about like underperforming conversion rates and really not having a very good user experience, because technically Google is where you find things, not where you book them, right? So that is the nature of things. And I think that they see also underlying potential in other products, right? So that is why they put things to do now, and they're putting a lot of efforts into that API. So thank you for that. Maybe I'll just leave an open question probably for the second round of things. So we were talking about direct channel and to hotels, even to SDRs. And I think one of the things that is always left at the table is the long tail, right? As Claudio said, like doing direct channel for the very, very long tail has a problem with scale and has a problem with management. So maybe it's something that we can tackle in the second part of this session, right? Is how can you do it? Because there's millions of properties there, right? But I don't think that they feel that they can run a direct sales strategy, right? So I'm just gonna leave it on the parking lot for now and turn to Will, because I think that we took note of something when we said that guests are evolving, preferences are evolving, needs are evolving. So from your point of view, Will, so you have data. How can data and actually having that kind of all-in-one concept, that integrated solution can help you meet those needs, right? Because that is what it's going to make you efficient and actually successful at meeting them and selling more and keeping that share, right? Whether it's direct or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to a couple of the other points some of the other panelists made, is really around understanding the data today and really understanding where that demand and the awareness of that demand is. So before you can even go to your distribution strategy and everything that you want to do to implement, I think you have to look at the data and say to yourself, well, where's the today's demand coming from? Is it coming from the GDS? Is it coming from channel management? Is it coming from brand.com? Should I be leaning more into the OTAs? And what are those need periods and those dates that I should actually be paying attention to? Maybe putting together an email marketing campaign or some other dynamic personalized CRM campaign, right? That pertains to that. And so I think as you look at the ecosystem and you're trying to figure out like, is the strategy of what we want to do is to get our availability rates and inventory out there to the broadest audience? Or is the strategy today, potentially post-pandemic, to really create new experiences and to create an integrated eco platform that will actually pertain better to guests, right? And so I think that's what we're thinking about at Amadeus right now is how do we create this really intense ecosystem where we really understand who the guests are, the intent, the data, where people are coming from, and then we can actually, put all of our resources in a very, resource bound time, right? We have labor problems today. How do we actually pay attention to the right need periods and focus on that? And so really the data is at the core of everything that we do and the decisions we make. And I think for most hoteliers on this phone, on this panel call, data is really core. Once you have the data, right, then it becomes about how do we leverage that data? How do we examine that data? How do we move from sort of an isolated and fragmented approach to more of a cohesive experience? So I think, again, those are some of the topics to think about. Going back to sort of Claudio's comments too, sort of in the short-term rental game, right? So we work with some of the short-term rental providers such as you, Alex. And what we're trying to do is how do we get your data and then put it into the agency and the demand reports that we have, which will then allow hotels to be able to have visibility, not only into the hotel data, but also into the short-term rental data. And while, Claudio might say, yeah, but how do I compete? Should I really compete? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it is just your suites. Maybe it's not. But again, I think, as I think about sort of that short-term rental market question that you asked previously, I think Airbnb has proven and has done a great job of understanding short-term booking windows, longer-term stays. As people are now sort of working remotely, they can spend a lot longer in various destinations. And therefore, they've kind of moved that booking window and moved to that longer stay. The other thing that I think Airbnb's done a great job of is attributes. I want this home with a pool or a hot tub, or I need 3 bedrooms, or I need all of these different attributes have now come out in the short-term rental booking engine, shall we say. What about hotels? So how do I quickly search by all of these hotels and all of these different attributes? And then the question becomes is, can you make more money with being able to offer attributes as part of your booking engine experience? Or are we going to over question guests and attributes? And now the booking process becomes much longer. And then we go back to a conversion rate issue. And so, those are some of the things that we're looking at as well as trying to figure out when we try to create this cohesive experience from the website to the booking engine into a personalized engine that truly understands who the guest is. If I really knew who Alex was, then wouldn't I be able to present the right offer in the right room and the right experience to you and sort of anticipate your needs, right? And so I think that's where the industry is moving toward. I think there's more profitability within these attributes that are going to be unlocked, more data, more personalization. But again, how do you cohesively put it together in a very smart way that will be meaningful to the end user, right? To our traveler.
I agree, and thank you for that. And one of the things you mentioned that's very interesting is how you're seeing everything as an ecosystem, right? So you're pulling different data sources, different partners, working on the data, and then also it's actually a work of making it available for people, right? Because some big corporations will use it some way and will have a lot of ingestion and let's just say processing power and capabilities. But then you also have to target your SMBs where they don't have that capacity and they still need to use that data, right? Yeah. So I think that's super interesting. And it made me remember when you were talking also about Alex and my needs is someone a while back ago was telling me, hey, I'm a corporate user. I just go to the hotel to sleep and go out. Mm-hmm. So why am I subsidizing with my rate the use of the pool for someone else, right? So if we were to get to that level of personalization, you would charge them for use, right? That is more of the kind of the airline low cost model, which hasn't really translated to other products, right? Mm-hmm. But it's good that you're seeing all of those data and kind of coalescing and putting those together to get to a point where people can really understand where to start to then create a meaningful strategy.
Yep, exactly.
Right. Cool. So thank you for that, Will. And then last but not least in this first round, so Vinicius, you're working with every single partner, every single kind of company and travel product in the industry. And I think in terms of distribution, it does apply to the entire destination, right? You work with destinations, you work with hotel chains. So how do you see that going forward? How do you tackle the entire destination? What is the future of destination and data?
Before talking about destination, when we go to direct sales or we go to indirect sales, first of all, we need to have a mix of channels that can be or direct channel. I have some problems with my light here. Have a ghost. Sorry. So we have the or direct channel. Then we can have a mix of OTAs. I saw that nobody talk about tour operators at the moment. Tour operators are coming back in different regions. They're just coming back from Mexico, for example, and tour operators are selling more than OTAs at the moment. Okay. Having said that, I see that direct sales needs to be like an omni channel for different channels. When I said different channels, I'm talking about uh, TikTok, Facebook, email marketing, everything that we do distribution or we do marketing publicity will be a channel or a direct channel. When we talk about destinations, normally everybody see a destination like a directory where you can find a web, you can find a hotel, you can find a restaurant, you can find a bar for a beer, or you can find a spa. If you find it, if it's a good, if they have a good job done there, that will change very soon. That will change. Everything will go for transactional. Also, all over the world, destinations are going to be transactional. That means that different booking engines will need to connect for the destination website. That means that destination websites will have or will apply softwares for reservations in a restaurant or to sell the spa or to sell any facilities that the destination can have directly on the destination side. That is something nobody's checking up, and that is something that will change a lot on the distribution industry. Why? Because normally we think that search on Google, as Pablo says, maybe in US and Europe, it's okay, but for the other part of the world, the amount of transactions that we have or to confirmations that we have, the conversion is not that much. However, we have a lot of people that if I said, okay, let's go to Miami, I have a lot of people that goes and search to Miami website. If I go to Cancun, I have a lot of people that search on Cancun website. So people are looking at and those and if those websites has been built correctly, not a piece of XXX as we see a lot of them, but really built correctly, that will be the most transactional website for that destination. Not only for destination to client, we cannot sync only on destination to client. We need to sync also and destination to corporate and destination to agent. Here is the point. If you have a website where you have the hotels, you have the rental cars, you have everything that you can find for that destination, means in some point that the travel agency don't will pass through a tour operator, that will pass directly to the destination website or go directly to the hotel to do a business with and get more money. That is happening already in a few destinations in the world. And I think there is the bottom that will happen soon, and don't will take 5 years to have those change. Will take less. And the good thing is that for all the booking engines and direct booking engines will be connected through those those destinations because that will increase. It's going to be a new channel as they have already, as Mirai has the connectivity for Facebook or Amadeus has, or myself, I have it for different channels. I can get the direct and I can measure it if how many how many money a hotel set for Facebook, for Instagram, for Google Hotel ads, for Google ads, or for all the ads they do in TikTok or everywhere, and they know if that is working or not. It will be the same for a destination. Things will change and people is not seeing it. So it start to check and looking at this point. There's it's something that will be a little revolution. Maybe it's not going to be a huge revolution, but for leisure destinations, this is going to be a revolution because you will find a way, an app. You're going to have your web app. You can, I don't know, run on the street and say, "Oh, I have here a QR code. What I can do here? I just read the QR code and that destination. Okay, I want you to take some beers. I want you to take some beers. Where I can do for beers here? I can I can buy already my place there for 9 o'clock. Yes, you can do it. That is a distribution destiny. So we need to start thinking on destinations, distributions for destinations and tourism, not only a hotel distributions. When we think in tourism, we need to think as a global on an entire destination. Even small destinations can have that kind of technology. And it's not expensive technology as a directory. A directory right now will have people that charging $750,000 for a directory. It's crazy. For destinations, Cancun can invest only $500,000, and they can have the technology like that. So this is the future that can have all over the world.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vinicius. I think it's super valid because you already see that happening with a lot of services at destination level. So, for example, urban mobility was one of the first ones to be put under the destination and being booked on a destination website, right? So it's only natural that other sectors will then follow, right? And then today, through the use of crypto and blockchain, you can actually set up a wallet for a destination and do all your transaction with the destination on your mobile, right? So I think you're right when like destinations are kind of becoming the top of funnel for travel experience, right? And then it all waterfalls from there. So it's actually
and then you don't include only the hotels, you include the entire distribution chain on the tourism for that destination. That is a good thing for the destination.
Yeah,
you
and this is
everything. You improve everything, even the restaurant.
And it's good use of the technology, right? So to your point, it's we used to feel that destinations, even Soumya mentioned it, but for me, and I just don't want to be polemic, as Pablo said, but I used to feel that DMCs and DMOs were old business, right? And then technology has allowed them to really move forward, and now they can do very cool, cutting edge stuff, right? And like specifically DMOs are doing very interesting things through the use of data, as Will said, and also through the implementation of new tech on their side. So I think we're in for a treat. We're going to see new business coming up. We're going to see very clever things done. I was seeing a Goda today doing marketing and also implementation of technology in Bangkok directly and in the Philippines. So it's
concerning distribution that we were talking about early, I just want to make a point. I was in Mexico last week, and I find out a five-star hotel just work only with Rico. They don't have even web, and they have a 95% occupation the entire year. And for example, from 2019, all the hotels on that destination already passed over, and the expectations in Cancun is to be they will sell more this year than ever. People want to travel.
Yeah. Well, we've been locked in for 2 years, right?
2 years, too much.
People want to run away. So okay, so that said, I just want to remind the audience that if they have questions or anything, you can post them on the session. I know that we are being seen through a lot of places in the U.S., Washington, Florida, as far as Argentina and other places. So thank you for looking at us. There's someone from Greece. So the Dionysius Boutique Hotel. So thank you guys for joining us. I think if you want, either we can take like 2 minutes to breathe and just kind of get our thoughts together, or we can just jump in. What do you rather, gents, do?
I'm fine to jump in.
Yeah, Will, you're always a grouper, right? So you wanna do that?
Let's do it.
So as long as we don't get any questions, so why don't we go into our next round? And I think I'm gonna kind of change it a little bit. I want to start with Claudio because first of all, we've all seen the news. There's some recent developments in the world, and in our hearts and best wishes with everyone in the Ukraine. And Claudio, we know that this actually hits you a little bit close to home. So in terms of short, mid, and long-term impact of the recent developments, the Ukrainian-Russian war, and how this plays into our sector or industry, what do you see in the near future? What's going to happen with OTAs pulling out? How's that going to affect business?
Yeah, thanks. As I said before, I mean, this is kind of close to home. Yeah, for sure. What we're like, obviously, we've all seen the news that both many more as well. But I mean, Airbnb, Booking.com being the big ones here. They pulled out of both Russia and Belarus, no longer serving these hotels, which I totally understand. I mean, that makes absolute sense. And without here going completely on the political part, I mean, what I'm maybe more afraid of than seeing is that we're generating two different ecosystems, and within Russia. Like, how do we in the future have Russian travelers coming to Europe? Right now, that might not be the thing that we're really thinking of, but I mean, that is still a market that we should cater to. And how do we hopefully soon be able to travel to these markets if the big OTAs are actually not there anymore? So that's for me, that this poses kind of a risk from a technology landscape, from an ecosystem point of view, if we're forcing, if the West in general, I think we can generalize it in that way, is forcing Russia and maybe Belarus and maybe some other countries here to build up their own ecosystem, closed up ecosystem, because at the end of the day, travel should be open. It should allow to travel from A to B as much as possible. So that's kind of like the risk I see. Very, very interested to see how others see that, and what is there maybe even something that can be done about it.
To that point, Claudio, so basically what you're saying is that the fear is that this could create another Baidu or Ostrobot experience, right? And then basically you have something that's close to the rest of the world, basically.
Exactly, yeah. And the other way around, like it also means that from booking a hotel in Belarus or in Russia, again, I don't want to travel there right now for sure, but I hope there are times when this is possible again. Then we have two ecosystems. So yeah.
Yeah, it really is reminiscent of Cuba in the 70s, 80s, right? Or even I don't know, no more Russians in the Maldives, right? That is, and again, it poses a threat to a lot of these hotels, which have been dependent on certain type of travelers, right? So I think we all have to look at this with very carefully and very closely, and start thinking about what would be our fallback strategies in case this evolves to the worst and not to the best, right? So we hope for the latter, but we have to plan for the earlier, right?
Of course, that's absolutely correct.
Thank you for that, and well, so let me tie this in with and I'm going to go into Will. So
we have a question here. If you
we have a question from John Sullivan. So John, it's an interesting idea to drive more revenue by increasing website conversion instead of a bigger acquisition budget. How do you know if your conversion rate is good? So who wants to tackle that first? I would love to hear this.
Juanjo, you know the answer.
Yeah.
You have the data. So
exactly. So this is actually really interesting, because it's true. It's really hard to know what's good. Typically, you need to explore something. Actually, there's this rule that I find absolutely amazing. There's an algorithm for this. When you're exploring a base of, let's say you are looking for an apartment, I'm going to post a number, but it's kind of around, you have to look at 36% of the available apartments, and that's it, that's the optimum, and then get the next one. There's a whole theory about this, but basically about a third, when you know a third of the stuff, you are good already to make the best decision. So it's impossible for you to know the conversion rate of everyone else, unless you work with us. And now, kidding apart, actually, one of the two core products we offer is a benchmarking platform. And that's exactly what that allows you to do, to compare your metrics with the marketplace, your destination, the wider country, other similar hotels around the world. And conversion is kind of the end goal of it, of all of it. But you can split it in many different ways. You can look at demand. Are you getting enough users? Bookings. Do you get enough bookings respected to your the size of your property? In general, the idea is once you know what you can aspire to, then it makes sense for you to implement a plan together. For example, if there's a metric in which you are already 70% above everyone else, probably there's not much to do there, and then you should look at another metric. It's almost impossible that you are great at every single thing. So conversion rate is one of those topics, but there's quite a few others that you have to check in your, let's say, e-commerce digital approach. And to answer directly the question, frankly, it's really amazing how the conversion rate for hotels is all over the place. We, as I said, we work with more than 12,000 clients. You can see from 0.3 to 10%. And there seems to be no trend. And for example, you take a group of 20 properties or 50 properties, and every single property has a different conversion rate. And obviously, that cannot be explained by the technology itself because they use the exact same technology. So it's very clear that the product itself, the hotel, the location, the prices, they play a huge impact on exactly what you're getting. And another thing we noticed back in the day at the beginning of the company, the conversion rate for one particular property varies a lot too. So from one month to another, it can be plus less 10, 15%, doing nothing, just because the marketplace behaves in that way. That's why it's so hard to track your improvement unless you do proper testing and A/B testing, because comparing a period with another period really tells you nothing. That's why we were so data-driven here. No?
That was a low-hanging fruit question for Juanjo, Alex. That was prepared. Pablo. I'm pretty sure it was prepared.
Yeah, John.
Not for me, but who knows?
Juanjo, who's John? I think you made him ask that question. I agree with Juanjo about his tool is pretty good to compare to benchmark conversion rate. I disagree though about the value of a conversion rate itself. To me, conversion rate means nothing, right? Having 3% or 1% means nothing to me. What the number that is important is the share of your direct channel compared to the rest of the online channels. So if you have 60% of direct compared to the rest of the onliners, I don't care if your conversion rate is 1 or 0.3. I would love to have 0.3 if I have 60% of the share. So we have clients having 0.9 with a share of direct of 55%. And those guys are heroes. On the other side, we have 3%, 4%, some hotels with 4, 5, 6% conversion rate having 20, 25%. So conversion rate is just a conclusion. It depends on so many variables. The type of traffic to the website, the type of pricing you run, if you allow under disparities or you do it by yourself. Of course, the booking engine technology. There are some crappy booking engines out there, and there are some good booking engines out there. But conversion rate is just a conclusion. So, to your question, John, I don't think you should focus that much on the conversion rate and check your direct channel share compared to the rest of the onliners. That's the number. If you make 50% of your online sales, you're doing good. If you are doing more than 50, you're doing brilliantly. If you're doing 20%, you have a lot to improve.
I totally agree with Pablo. So the most important thing is to check how much you're selling your hotel. If this, as Pablo says, if you have 50%,
over the onliners,
your conversion rate is 1%.
Not other segments. The other
well,
segments.
But I actually think it goes to all segments, right? So we have a tool called Demand 360 that does forward-looking demand by channel. So you could actually see you versus your comp set in the GDS and how you're doing, and OTA and how you're doing, and brand.com and how you're doing. And I would absolutely agree with you that conversion rate means nothing because there's so many variables, right? How many room types do you have? How many rate plans do you have? How many pages to your booking engine do you have? Did you make it easy from the website into the booking engine for the person to find that offer? Are you in rate parity? There's so many different variables. How's your content? What's your image quality like? Every one of those variables influences your conversion rate. And I think it was said something, if you type in like, what's the average hotel conversion rate for a hotel? Major brands, it's like 3 to 5%. But the moment you get to 1,000-room casino with 5 restaurants and 3 nightclubs and 7 pools, it drops well below 1%. Because when somebody comes to the website, if they're searching for the question of what restaurant should I eat at, and they get into the booking engine, it didn't answer the question. So then they bounce, so casinos are like a whole nother animal unto itself, where they're consistently getting less than 1% because they have so many services and so many dining offerings and things, questions that customers want answers to. So I agree. Market share is probably the better dynamic.
Juanjo,
Can I be a bit polemic here?
Sure.
So I don't disagree with what you are saying, but that doesn't invalidate the idea that conversion rate is interesting. For example, let's take Pablo's argument. No? Share of direct is more relevant. Well, 2 things there. Actually, I can take that further. It's how much money you make. Who cares if it's direct or not? So there's always a more absurd thing. The reduction to absurd, it gives you that the only thing that matters is how much money you make. However, that doesn't help you to become better. The good idea about the metrics themselves is that it gives you an indication or where to pay attention in order to do something better. The other stuff is the output. So I don't think conversion is the output. It's the other way around. Your market share versus something else is the output of doing something good that you measure through conversion rate. And to your point, it's true that it's not the only thing, obviously. You have 1,000 variables. Those 1,000 variables influence conversion. What you cannot say is you are bad because you have one, the guy with 5 is good, because it can be on purpose. But given any metric, you can always improve it.
Right.
And it's a way to have a stick measure for yourself.
And I would say if you're a hotelier on this call and you want a full audit of some of those different things that could influence your conversion rate, you should reach out to any of us and have us do an audit for you.
I was
completely free audits.
Yeah, I was not only going to say that, Will. I think it's very interesting how this kind of enables discussion and sharing of thoughts, right? Why? Because first of all, I think we do have a bias in the industry that is try and get the magic number. So this should be the only one thing that you look at, which is technically not true. Like it's empirically proven that there's not one single thing that will make the difference for you in your business. That is, as with all other businesses. So, but from the product perspective, I think some of us, or I mean, the industry has tried to get to that point where you want to give that magic number to the client and say, hey, this is the only thing you need to look at, and my tool is the one that will show you, right? And then that is how you lose a hotelier. So I think it was, thank you, John, because you kick-started a very good discussion. That's one. And I think, again, as Will said, like, feel free to reach to anyone in this audience for an audit or for consultative, which I think is the most important thing about this is having someone be consultative to you and to your business to make sure you get the biggest return out of it, right? So it's important. Again, just on the point of the number conversion is we were clapping and having parties at booking.com when I was there when we got 1.5% conversion. But that is because we had millions and millions in traffic, right? So 1.5 was a lot.
You know, Alex, I'd also add 2 other things too, and things that we've learned from other industries as well, right? So the airlines got to the place where, hey, if you're not ready to book, that's fine. Give us your email address, and you know, we'll let you know when the rate drops, or we'll retarget to you, right? So I also think things like cart abandonment, where somebody goes to the booking engine, they select all of their preferences and they bounce. What is that automated tool that's going to be able to bring that customer back so that therefore the next time they think about booking you, they don't book you direct and then now the next one's through Expedia at a much higher take rate, right? So how do you, if they're coming to you direct, or you've spent money on digital advertising and they're coming to you direct, how do you keep them booking direct with you versus potentially through another channel?
Yeah, and I completely agree with you because in a lot of sectors and with a lot of products, booking direct is close to nightmare, right? So it's not optimized. It's not a good experience, right? And with the use of technology, it could be even more. It would be very simple, very efficient. It could allow for secondary product distribution, right, through conversion of products to NFTs and tokenization. So there's a lot of things we can do. It's just doing it and just giving a better experience, right? So let's move on so we can tackle some of the other things. But then we can always revisit this if the audience poses yet another good question.
Alex just wanted to add on. Sorry to add on like late. I mean, yeah, we heard about from all, and I quite agree with everyone. But this just my opinion. Like the conversion ratio would actually be basis the segment that we are trying to capture the conversion ratio, because every segment will have a different cost associated with it. Like if I am getting the conversion from my OTAs, I'll take the cost of the commission which I'm paying to my OTAs. That's one. If I'm having the conversion ratio from the direct bookings, so I know what I have the cost invested in the direct making the hotel website or revamping the hotel website or the booking engine. So all I'm trying to say is that we have a global conversion ratio perception, and we hoteliers we go ahead and we calculate that. But to me, I think that should be segmented basis the cost we incur and basis the return of investment we get. That's something to my opinion.
Oh yeah, completely agree. Like CAC on an OTA is not the same as your booking engine or like a wholesale,
Right,
right? So
right.
it's as easy as that. So cool. So Will, I was just about to go with you when we got this cool discussion, and we were talking about Ukraine, right? So this we've been through kind of a roller coaster ride last couple of years. So many things happened, so many news. I think actually one of the things we're seeing is that money's now water falling into the industry again. So in your mind, there have been some global events past 3 years. There are some happening right now. So what do you think will change in the industry? What is going to stay? What is going to go? What do we need to solve for?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think we can agree that for 3 years ago versus where we are today, that our entire industry is completely changed. Not that it's changed for a period of time and it's going to go right back to where it was. I think we are realizing permanent changes as time goes on. Some of the things that we think about are, what are important to guests, right? Contactless is important to guests. And so there's a lot of solutions coming out in the contactless space, right? Sanitation. If you invested in a sanitation stock in the last 3 years, I'm sure you did very well, right? Automation, right? With labor shortages, how do we think about making things simpler for the hotelier? How do you start automating things? How do you start kind of bringing these solutions together on unique dashboards that allow people to do more with less staff or get to the answer quicker and faster as they want to be able to make decisions for their business? From a traveler standpoint, I think you think about they want more choice. They want more flexibility. They want more assurances, maybe with insurance when they travel, so that therefore, if something like this were to happen, which, who knows what's going to happen in the future. I know that personally, I booked a trip 2.5 years ago, which I'm actually going on in about 8 days from now. And I remember booking that trip, and then I couldn't get my money back from the hotel, right? They didn't want to give me my money back. The airlines were like, hey, if you don't, how about this? We will give you more points if you don't take your money back, because everybody was just in cost contain mode and trying to keep the revenue. And I knew I'd travel again, and that's fine, keep my money. But then, the airlines got a little bit interesting with well, but then we're not going to let you spend all those points all at the same time. And so now it became these barriers and these hurdles. And so sometimes I don't think that necessarily goes in the right direction. But I do think that some of the big themes that we're seeing is, data continues to be extremely important. People are buying data more than anything else, forward-looking data, that is, to be able to make better business decisions. I think, major brands are definitely looking at technology in the attribute space. How do we become more personalized and cater to the customer? How do we unlock their CRM data so that therefore we can create this integrated, centric traveler opportunity around the full journey? How do we look at all of the different fragmented solutions that we have in our hotels that may or may not be talking to one another, and really create this cohesive ecosystem so that therefore the data is being shared across each one of the solutions? And I think that the other big thing that's kind of popped up is around payments, global payments, how people pay, buy now, pay later. installments, is just become another big thread for us. And so again, I think the things that we think about are really building platforms. And I think as Vinicius said earlier, how come nobody's thinking about the experiences and the DMOs? Like the way we're thinking about it is we're building a payments platform that all the payment providers can connect to, that'll be open, right? We're building an experience platform that all the DMOs and the tour operators can plug into. That's going to plug into our solutions as well. So this whole sense of open APIs and open framework, again, how to make it easier for the consumer, the suppliers, as well as really just enhancing the traveler's experience is core to our business.
Thank you for that. That is super illustrative. And you mentioned two very interesting points that I wanna relate to Juanjo as well. So you said labor shortage, cost containment, and then Juanjo, you work with 12,000 hotels, right? So I would imagine a lot of them have gone into cost containment kind of tactics. They have reduced their budget. They have reduced their spending. So, but we said that we have to keep the share of direct bookings, right? And we need to invest. So what would you say to that audience? What are the tips that you can give them to do more with less?
Yeah. You know what? We are actually running a seminar series that is called Do More with Less. That's exactly the key. And I totally agree with Will there. It's really tough on the teams at the hotels because there are more tools than ever before. We had someone doing a presentation internally for the team, and a hotelier in a top brand might be using 25 tools, and it's just impossible to know how they work, and that's only part of what you're doing. So I think this idea that the tools don't talk to each other is probably one of the places in which more work needs to be done in the next few years, so that there's a simple way for everything to interact. And from a technology perspective, it's hard as a provider to know exactly how to play there, because do you want to integrate with everyone else, or do you want to staff yourself? Integrating takes some effort because there's many people to integrate in every category. We only integrate basically with booking engines, and we have 400 integrations. Imagine if you take the whole landscape, thousands of potential providers around the world. So I think what we hear from clients is, how can I achieve threshold of good results already with the minimum commitment? So the way we call it is the idea of set it up, forget about it. And that doesn't give you 100% of the potential upside, but it gives you, I don't know, maybe 40, 50%. That's okay already for a minimum investment in time. And then the other extra is when you really pay attention to those topics that you care more about. And then you are aiming for another extra kick there. But that one is much more time consuming. The Pareto thing about the 80-20 kind of applies too. There's few simple things you have to take care of, and then you can always go deeper if you have the resources internally, which in these times is hard to pull off.
Good, that's super interesting. And I think at the end of the session, we can all agree to just give our contact info for audits, or we can mention the Do For Less webinar. So the audience here in this show is also up for it.
Quickly, can I mention something really quickly to connect to an idea that you guys said before? One of the ideas about this personalization, and I don't know exactly who mentioned it, is that when you give too many choices to the users, it's not necessarily good for them because it becomes more confusing. Ideally, you don't give a personalization. It's not about giving options. It's about giving you one option, but the one you care about. Only that is hard to do. And in many cases, it's a guess. No? But that's the goal. The goal is not to present a range of things for you, because we are, as human beings, very bad at selecting from a number of options. It's intellectually very tiring. So the ideal process, if there's just one button that says next, next, next. That's it. No, but you happen to like the next step.
I completely agree with you. You sounded like my wife for like 5 minutes. It's right. You're very bad at making decisions, right? So it's like, that's why you have me, the next button. Guys, I was
Alex,
about.
Can I just take that last question from Maurice that came in? Because we actually had a whole travel tech on that topic. last year.
I was gonna mention the same, Maurice. So we do have a whole AI and machine learning session, which is scheduled tomorrow, Claudio, if I remember correctly.
There was one a couple months ago. There's certainly an update to that. I don't know, like if I can answer it very quickly, like particularly when it comes to pricing and forecast, like there are multiple aspects where AI in distribution and pricing can help a lot. There's obvious ones if we're talking about BI tools and like very simply distribute, like showing information. And I think that's where like finding new patterns in big data sets. And I think will have a lot to say to that. Where there's a lot of levers where machine learning can pull this out. There are many other aspects when we're talking about forecasting demands, which is a completely different set of AIs and machine learning in this case. When we're talking about forecasting, where you can do a lot more things, but also, and I think for us it becomes much more interesting because it's also then about efficiency, is what I actually can automate for you. Obviously, they're like closer to my home is about pricing, automation of distribution, closing rooms, opening rooms, closing channels, opening channels. Do I need booking.com right now, or is the direct channel the only one that I need to have open? Do I need short-term stays, long-term stays? Do I need to have minimum lengths of stays up on there? So there are things where machine learning can help doing this. When we're talking about the very tactical things as overbooking limits, which one is the right one right now, so that I'm running not the risk of overbooking, but still sell as many rooms as I can. And then there's many different aspects also in the nitty-gritty things of like mapping things together, which room type is which room type, where AI machine learning can do a lot of things. So I'm sorry to rant, to go very quick on a very broad topic here, but there's so many things machine learning and AI can help you with. But most of the time, I don't think it's something that actually, like for the hotelier itself, it's kind of the tool to access directly on the machine learning side. It's probably more a second layer to it, where one of the providers will use machine learning to build a product that the hotelier will use.
I completely second what you just said, Claudio. I can give a specific case. I remember in my old days when I started in hotels doing ledgers by hand, right? So closure of ledgers at night. Very low value, high intensive task that you can automate today with the modern PMSs. And even if you actually get a little bit more AI built into it, then it becomes a self-made process, right? So you don't have to check any bills anymore. If you find discrepancies, the client will be billed automatically after checkout. That's it. Like you don't need to spend man hours of people actually putting invoices together. So that is the thing of the past in most hotels, and that is a good application of that technology. And at home, like at my current home, one of the things we did was spend thousands of man hours QAing reports and data accuracy, and now that is run by a let's say process. It's fully automated. Delivery of reports or delivery of things is also fully automated. So I think, yes, there's a lot of efficiencies to be created with AI and machine learning. And I think we're going to have a very interesting session on that Thursday at 12 p.m. EST.
We have also blockchains and crypto. So we will have on the specialists on that area. So we invite everybody to be there also.
Awesome.
Yeah. I also think too, Alex, though, Claudio talked a lot about on the pricing and the hotel side of things. Mm-hmm. We also think about it on the guest side of things, right? What floor is the gym on? That should be automated. Nobody should pick up the phone and tell. So you could text the bot, if you will, what floor is the gym on? It should automatically trigger right back to you. So a lot of efficiency there on the guest side of things, that therefore you might not necessarily have to get a labor person involved.
Great. Thank you for that. So now that we've discussed a little bit also on evolving needs and wants and everything, so that will generate a new breed of traveler. That will generate new demand. So Soumya, any ideas on how you can leverage that demand? What is that demand going to look like, and how hotels can leverage it?
Yeah, thanks for the question, Alex. if we talk about the new demand, see, we all have seen the COVID thing. Hopefully, it's passed away, and we don't see a new variant come again. So, yeah, we have seen this work in the travel happening across a lot of destinations across the globe, and we expect it to happen and increase more and more across all the destinations in the globe, across the globe. So if I talk about the new travel demand, so things have changed. People right now are traveling more, doing more of a domestic travel right now. International travel has increased a lot if we compare with the last time of this year or last year. So yes, we are seeing a new travel demand. So how do we cope up this new travel demand? So there are few strategies which the hotels can take, and number one, which we have already spoken about today, is leveraging the technology to better market your hotel. So we have seen new technologies coming up right now. So we have seen new solutions coming up, new technology, new infrastructure. So what the hotels can and catch upon, and they can go ahead and they can use those new technologies to market the hotel. Apart from technologies, we can talk about these were before there, but in this new travel demand, so the market has become more competitive. So the hoteliers have to grab more guests to the hotel. So how they can do it? So if I'm talking about the booking policies, they have to be very flexible about it. If I'm talking about the cancellation policies, they have to be more flexible. Maybe they allow the cancellation up to 1 day prior to check-in. And yes, date modification should also be allowed, the check-in, check-out dates options. Next would be they have to go ahead and manage effective rate strategies to identify the target customers and create packages and promotions like early bookers, last minute deals, mobile rates, and other promo plans. These things were there before, but these things have come into more of a practice once we have seen this COVID phase, because these are the new strategies which the hotels would want to actually grab upon to go ahead and focus and to meet this new travel demand. Next would be the social media thing. Everyone is on social media right now. So if I'm an hotelier, I'm in the social media right now. The guest is also in the social media right now, and the market has become very competitive. So social media, if I would say, if I take me as an example, like along with my work hours, yes, I do spend around, of course, 50 to 60% of my day in social media. So that's the thing. What I'll say that as a hotelier, in order to cater this new travel demand, the hotels has to be there and has to be there on all the Instagram, Facebook, has to be there on all the social media channels, and they have to actually highlight what they have come up new. Is there a new event coming up at their hotel? Maybe this month, maybe next month. So they have to make the guest aware on the social media that is there any new thing on the block on the hotel, have they expanded the infrastructure, or if they have any new policies in place which will attract more travelers to come to the hotel. Third, and the most important point, according to me, it will be the guest loyalty. You have a database, guests has come to your hotels and stayed with you, so they are the best persons to go ahead and spread the word of mouth to other guests. So if I'm happy, if I've stayed in your hotel, and if that your room, your amenities, your services gives me a wonderful experience during my stay, of course I'll go back to my home and I'll tell 10 other people, hey, I have been to that hotel and my stay was great. So that's one point. But as an hotelier, I know that I definitely know who are my loyal guests, who are my happy guests. So I'll invariably will go back to them and say, hey, are you came over here last year, last summer or last spring? So we have come up with this offers for you because you have been a loyal guest of ours. So we will give you many special offers on, maybe we know that your birthday is coming up, your anniversary is coming up. So these things makes a guest feel very special. So he will feel special. He will think that, okay, yeah, the hotel remembers, still I have gone to the hotel last year. Wow, that's good. So the guest loyalty should be one key thing when it comes to the hoteliers going ahead and meeting the new travel demand. Vanity website. Using this vanity website is very, very important. I mean, the website should be just up to date with all the room rate details, latest hotel images, search engine optimized content. This will not only ensure the brand.com to show up on the search results, but also this will help the partner with the local business as well, because the website is the first thing. Like if I'm going to stay anywhere, I'll go ahead and first search in Google. Then of course I'll go to the hotel website to see what the hotel website tells about the hotel. So the hotel website has to be very, very updated, revamped, and of course it should have a booking engine, very good one, which should have a payment gateway and all the recent features of the booking engine. Email marketing is something that we should not forget at all, because many a times the hotel marketing team might need to reach out to their valuable loyal guests, which I spoke just a minute back. They might want to catch up with them over a phone call, but they might not be available. The number might has been changed. So what do we do? Do we don't connect to that loyal guest? No, we do. We do have their email address in the database. So go ahead, send an email and tell them that we feel that you're very special to us and we invite you again. We have a new event coming up on our hotel next month. We are hosting a beauty pageant show, something like that. And so the email marketing and the follow up is very, very, very important. And last but not the least, the feedback thing. So whenever a guest is staying at your hotel, you of course take a feedback. I know that to all the guests, we might not go back to them physically and talk to them about how was your stay, what you want us to improve as a hotelier. But yes, we send them a form and the guest feedback form. So it's not like the hoteliers. I've seen hoteliers who does work upon the feedback forms a lot. I mean, as in when they get the feedback form, even if they say 1 point out of 5 points, the guest has marked they are not being satisfied on that point, that service. So they go back to the guest and ask them what they would need the hotel to improve on that part. So the essence is, I mean, customer is God. So the more the hotels work on the feedback part, the survey part, it not only helps the hotel to improve their services, their infrastructure, their amenities, but also it actually gives a feel good factor to the guest that yes, I have given the feedback and the hotel has worked upon, and yeah, now I see the hotel has improved a lot, so I should go back and stay out there. So these are the few things in my mind which comes to me right now, so that these are the few things which the hotels can leverage for the new travel demand. Thanks, Alex. Over to you.
No, thank you, Soumya. And I think we have a question by Radha over there in terms of, let's just say, demand gen and how in the efficiency of that distribution strategy, when we said that you would have 1, 2, or 3, 4 sites where you would distribute, then not all sites are used by guests worldwide. And I think that is part of the personalization and the optimization of the distribution strategy, right? Juanjo, I think they mentioned you, but maybe you wanna
Yeah.
answer it.
Sure. I think it was Pablo who said that you probably have an ideal short list that covers most of the ground. No? It's not my specialty, so probably you want to go there, but typically you want to sell where the users are. And there's in every distribution, there's a very long tail, and you don't have to cover every piece because that's very complicated.
I think that that's the key is to understand where your clients are, and first of all is what your segments are, and identify where your clients are, how they book, and find the right tool, a channel to help them book, and get the least number of channels to get to all clients. So if you need 4 websites to get to those clients, I mean, go for it. I seriously doubt about it. But if you think you need those 4 different websites, I mean, that's fine. I think for most of the hotels in the world, with a few channels, you can reach up to pretty much all 99% of your online demand. The different story is the offline world, or the corporate, or the group segments, or the my segments. That's a completely different story. And I'm not an expert, and the online can help. And I agree with the brilliant point that Will made, that maybe if you have a MICE hotel, your conversion rate will be close to 0. But who cares? I mean, I make a lot of money in MICE, and I sell a lot of rooms through the MICE segment because my business is MICE. It's not having a nice conversion rate, because I mean, websites need to show what the hotel has, and many hotels don't work the leisure segment, especially in the U.S. In hotels in the nowhere in the U.S., they are mostly corporate hotels, and they make a huge business, and they don't care about the online placement because their business is purely. So I think it is key to understand where the clients are, how to reach them, and get the most efficient to reach them. Sometimes you will need Torico, because Torico may help you get to a point where it's impossible to get otherwise. For instance, I'm very critical with hotel beds and bedbanks, and I think they have very little value, close to zero, in my view. But to reach the chaos that is Latin America, which is a very difficult market to get for the payments, for all the questions from clients, it is really tough to get to the Latin American clients. A wholesale can help you get there in an easy and efficient way, for instance. But why do you need a wholesaler to get to the US market? I mean, you don't need anything from a wholesaler in Europe. But for long, remote, and difficult countries, B2B might work. So why not? So what clients you want to bring to your hotel, find the right tool to get them, and just plug into your channel manager CRS, and that's it. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you get a ton of channels of different nature, you will have a complete chaos, and it will be very difficult to know if your mix is healthy and if you're making as much money as you could. Right?
Thank you for that, Pablo. And I think we've reached the bottom of the hour, so I want to be mindful of your time as well and the audience's time. So first of all, I wanted to thank you for your time, for being so diligent and so open and so candid with your feedback and your knowledge. And thank Vinicius for putting this up, for allowing us to all be together and share our knowledge with his audience. I may take this opportunity to present myself to the larger audience in the call. So my name is Alex Gomez. I'm the head of data solutions at AirDNA. We're the global data provider for data and insights for short-term rental. And it was a pleasure moderating and hosting this with you guys. And maybe what I'll do is just open the floor. I'm going to start with you, Vinicius, and then we can go around and kind of ask you for like 2 lines of wisdom, forecast or best wishes for 2022 for all of these people that attended the session today.
Thank you for the attendance. Thank you to be besides of this big sharks that we have here. Soumya, Pablo, Juanjo, Will, Claudio, thank you so much to be here. It's a pleasure share with you the space and talk about our business here, that is hotels, destinations, and tourism. So thank you so much, everybody, to be here. Thank you, Alex, you moderate. As always, outstanding, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Soumya.
Hey, thanks to Vinny, thanks Alex, and thanks everyone in the audience. I do see beautiful questions being put up, and hope we have catered to all your queries. And yes, if you need any further information, you can go ahead and you can just contact any one of us. And really, thanks everyone for your time, and we look forward to more travel in this year.
Dito, completely. Pablo.
I think 2 years ago we were at this date exactly. We were wondering or saying, "Oh, this COVID is going to be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months," and I think we have to be ready for everything. And volatility is here probably to stay. Now we have a terrible war in Europe. It can get really worse, and we have to be ready as individuals, as companies. So hopefully, I mean, we hope not. I mean, nothing is going to happen, but it can be really bad. So I'm very concerned about this situation, especially in Western Europe. I mean, Eastern Europe, sorry, but it can be really bad. So all of you and all of us have to be ready for the worst.
Thank you, Pablo, for that. Claudio.
Yeah, first of all, thanks a lot, Vinicius, Travel Tech, to put this all together. Thanks, Alex, for the moderation. Thanks, everyone else, for the great question from the audience, and the rest of the participants here for the great discussion. Yeah, I like I share Pablo's concerns. I just inherently am a much more positive positive person. I want to look positive in the world, and I think we've made it through the last 2 years. So I'm sure this will go better this time. We are much better prepared. Travel industry is much better prepared. So I'm giving this a positive spin to say that this will not be as bad as we all hopefully think it will be. Nevertheless, I mean, be prepared is always a good advice. But yeah, I have positive feelings within all this turmoil. COVID is not done, and yes, you have a war in Europe. Still, we need to look positive forward.
Good. Thank you for that, Claudio. Juanjo.
So I tend to be a bit of an optimist too. So I think we have the privilege of working in an industry where the end goal is to make people happier. And that's what we have to do as good as we can. And that's our contribution.
Thank you for that. Will?
Yep. Thank you so much to Travel Tech, Vinicius, Alex, the panelists. Really appreciate being on the panel today. What I will say, the source is the data. You have to look at the data, and actually the data is trending upwards. So while I understand there's lots of challenges we have in our world, the data is absolutely on the upswing. People are spending more money in media and demand generation this year than they did last year, this year than the year before. And we are very confident that the travel industry will continue to grow. So look at the data and make your decisions from there.
Thank you very much, Will. And that was a very beautiful way of wrapping this up. So guys, thank you very much. Have a very good evening, night, day, wherever you are. And I'll see you in the next session.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
all.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.